Welcome to another episode of Explaining the Joke, the video series where I take all the joy out of jokes by talking about it in detail. Some jokes take a little longer for people to understand. Me and my friend, we call this the joke grenade. You grab it, you toss it, you wait a little bit, and then it explodes. I think that's an apt metaphor for it because the explosion is bigger. The fact that you made people work for it, they enjoy it more because they figured it out. Look at how clever we are. We figured out this puzzle that this comic threw at us. But since they have to figure things out, they don't get the joke right away, you have to give them a little bit of time. You have to pause a little bit. It's part of comic timing, right? Because you can't just do the joke and then immediately go to the next joke because they're not going to get it yet. They're still going to be thinking about it. And then you start the next joke and they're already thinking about that one. And you've missed your opportunity for more of the audience to get it. Like ideally, you want people to figure out the joke within a second or two. So you want to give jokes that are at the hardest possible ability or cleverness that they're able to solve it in 1 or 2 seconds, right? So like if you're with a very with it crowd, a hip, comedy savvy crowd, you can do these really kind of smart jokes that take them 2 seconds to get. They're going to love it because they're never challenged that much. But if you gave these same clever jokes to a crowd that is not comedy savvy, just, not very intelligent, or drunk and not following along, it's just going to fly over their heads. The joke's going to go over their heads. So you're always doing this kind of tightrope act where you want to challenge people to their limits because that's going to make them laugh super hard. But if you go too far, then you're going to go over a lot of people's heads. And no audience is perfectly uniform. You're going to have a mix of people. So generally, that's why comics can't do jokes that are too clever, because you're not going to know how many people it's going to go over their heads. You have to just do just right. The Goldilocks of joke grenades. And unless you don't want to compromise, unless you become that comic who does a very specific level of joke grenades, either super low-hanging fruit or very complex, clever jokes, and then you just find your audience organically. And that's why a certain group of people just love that comic, because they give them exactly the 1 to 2 seconds fill in the gap. But if you gave those low-hanging fruit jokes to the comedy savvy group, they're gonna scoff at you. That's why it's hard. You can't please everyone, right? Everyone has not only different tastes in comedy, but different gap-filling ability. Often you'll find like the clever, hard-to-get jokes. Those are the comics that comics like a lot. They're like the comics comic. We've heard so many jokes. We're able to guess punchlines before it gets there, that when someone makes us think and try to figure out the joke and we're able to figure it out in a couple seconds, we give that comic a lot of props. But sometimes they're not the popular comic. They're not like mainstream. They never become mainstream comics because their jokes go over a lot of people's heads. Right? So you just got to decide what kind of comic you want to be. Are you going to stick to your guns and do specifically one type of gap-filling joke grenade and have your audience build up to you? Or do you want to be somewhere in the middle? You're going to have a semi-clever joke that most people will be able to figure out in 1 or 2 seconds. And that's where I'm at right now. If I have a big enough following, eventually I'll see what my demographic is, and then I'll write jokes that kind of push them to their limits, that they're trying to figure out the joke and they get it within a couple seconds. I'll show you an example of one of my joke grenades. I did it at my first televised special.
And I get it, right? The fear of rejection, talking to a stranger. And there's a saying that's meant to give you courage. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And I like that saying. It made sense. Found out who said it. Wayne Gretzky. And I was like, what does the leading goal scorer of all time know about the pain of missing shots? Right? Because life is complicated, Gretzky. Dating is complicated, Great One. You could be the best shooter in the world. You could be like skating down the rink, about to take your shot, and then you realize that some nets don't even like shooters. They like other nets.
So guys are the shooters, women are the nets. Some women like other women, so the shooter doesn't even have a chance. So it takes a couple seconds, usually for some people to get it. Some people get it right away, obviously. And sometimes, some people don't even get it at all. Sometimes I find that if I have a large gap-filling joke, a strong joke grenade, and not enough people get it, like I misjudged my audience, then I'll have like it's always bad to explain your joke. Like, oh, yeah, so the guys were the shooters, women are nets. Like you drain all the joy out of things if you explain the joke. But if you explain the joke as a joke, sometimes that helps. So I'll do this joke, and if I misjudge the audience, they don't get it, it goes over their heads, I'll have a backup joke tag that explains the joke, but it in itself is a joke. So if they don't get what I was trying to say, I'll be like, yeah, they're called netspians. Just like a stupid wordplay or pun. I don't know which one it is. Just mixing the words lesbian with netspians. And usually that will help. That's a little clue to what I was trying to say the nets are. So you can do that. You can shoot for the fences and have one of those complex twists. And if you misjudge if you misjudge the audience and it's not many people can get the joke, you can have a backup tag to help explain it, but make it funny too. So you save yourself. Make it lower of a gap for people to fill. Anyways, I think this is a little bit of a complex topic. I don't know if I explained it well. Hopefully I did, but I think understanding joke grenades by pausing afterwards to letting people connect it, trying to figure out the maximum gap jokes you could tell people that will challenge them, so it'll be 1 or 2 seconds, and then it'll be a lot more satisfying for those people. Thank you, and new video every week, so come back next Friday and I'll have another video up.